So you've landed on a strange alien world where you've been sent to do some terraformation, and you've decided to play hardcore, and because you hate your life, quite rough, but all in all, you need to make the best of the situation. Now this video will be a couple of tips on everything in hardcore to make yourself, but at least the early game, to survive the early game, because if you can get past the early game, you can do anything in essence in this game. It's all about that. So the thing about hardcore is you get one of the worst starting positions, probably the worst, which is the meteor crater. Right? As you can see in front of you, there's a meteor crater with a dust cloud hanging over everything down below. You will notice my vitals don't deplete. This is just so that I can show off the footage that I want to show, the areas and the stuff for the tips. So in hardcore, your terraformation rate is slower, the speed is halved compared to a normal game. Your vitals, the hunger, water and oxygen, depletes rapidly at 1.5 times the speed of normal. Your spawn point, as I said, is the meteor crater, and the power consumption is higher. It's 1.3 times the power consumption of normal. And of course, the creme de la creme, the cherry on top of hardcore, is the fact that your save file gets deleted. So that's absolutely beautiful. Your save file gets deleted. So, to survive in hardcore, that means you need to get back up and running as quickly as possible. Get up and running. You need to be like a small gazelle in the Serengeti. You can't be born and then decide you don't want to do anything for the next 20 minutes, otherwise you'll be dead. So the thing about this is food is your biggest issue, right? Food is your biggest issue that you need to get up and running, because you spawn with a couple of food items in here, right? We've got 5 food items, and then you have to scavenge food because your food meter will run out rapidly. So as I mentioned, food is the thing that you need to get a hold of and sort out as soon as possible, because you spawn with so little food and you get a little bit of space food all around the areas when you go looting in the small blue boxes that you'll find in the vicinity and the shipwrecks and spaces that you go and look at. You need to get the food grower, as soon as possible. Food grower, as we can see, is the 4th unlock in the oxygen path. So you need to generate oxygen as quickly as possible and get to 12 ppt. Alright? The thing about this is the oxygen doesn't generate very quickly. So if you look at a veggie tube, in the early game, the veggie tube T1 and 2 would be your oxygen generators. The veggie tube only generates at 0.075 oxygen, and if you look at the veggie tube 2, which you unlock if you do a little bit of heat, then that unlocks only at 500 pk for the heat, and that generates oxygen at 0.6, and you need to get to 12, so it takes a little bit of time to get to the food generator. So you can't be diddle-daddling around. These rates are slow when you're fighting for your life. Everything else are nice to haves, like I said, with heat and power and with heat and pressure and stuff like that. Priority numero uno is food. Focus on oxygen and almost ignore heat and pressure. Almost ignore it. Build every now and again a random heater and random pressure things because you can. Just need to survive the early game. And to do that, you need to focus on the following things. As I mentioned, oxygen is number 1. In the blue box you find here, you'll find a lerma, seed lerma, there we go. The box that you find just to your left, you will find another seed, which is this Pestera seed. It's a 200 multiplier. So this is the first 2 plants that you can build. One of the locations that you can also have a look at is you spawn on your pod there, and if you go directly down into the basin of the meteor crater, the rough terrain makes it so rough, because if you get up, you can get up there, but scaling it's quite rough. You'll see a blue box there. There we go. We'll find ourselves a blue box. In here, sometimes you get food. So it is random to a degree. Sometimes you get food in this box. To generate oxygen, you of course need a bunch of plants. Now, in the meteor crate basin, your spawn point is over there. So here, you have a single room underground base where you'll find 3 waters and oxygen and 1 space food. So that's going to help you a lot. In this storage facility, you will find 1 seed and 1 plant at a minimum, and a couple of waters again, and a couple of resources. So here you've now had your 3rd seed that you can use. When you get out of the underground base, you'll notice a blue box up on the wall. If you're lucky on your spawn, then you might find 1 or 2 food pockets in here. If you're unlucky, like I am currently, you will find nothing, but you will always at least find an aluminium and a couple of waters and maybe an oxygen in here. There you find an iridium. Iridium would be useful for your heater. You can grab that if you want, and a couple of extras. One of the better places to loot is a massive base just outside your spawn pod. In that location, slightly below, just below the sand cloud, there's a location there where there's a massive base where you can do a lot of looting. Join me again as soon as we find ourselves there. To find the location of that underground base, you go past the archway. You go past it. You go past these big rocks in front of you towards the moon, or one of the moons anyway, and into this area that's got a small dip. As soon as you have the small dip, you can look. There's your spawn point there. You can look towards the moon, and you literally just go down. Don't be afraid. You go down a bit, you'll come to the 2 tier 2 solar panels. You'll get to them later when you can use them. If you have your tier 1 solar panels unlocked, what you can do is you can deconstruct them and construct them as soon as you have it unlocked. That's also a quick and effective way, a cheap way to get more power. This is an excellent base. In this base, you will notice it is a massive base. Make sure that you can deconstruct stuff as soon as you're in here, because there is a lot of doors you need to deconstruct. You can go towards the left or the right, it doesn't actually matter. If you go towards the left, you will find 2 oxygen canisters here, oxygen capsules. You can continue on with the tour. Just unlock. If you turn towards the right, you will find in here some space food, and you'll find 2 iridiums, which is useful, and a seed. All in all, don't disregard the eggplant seeds, because you will need them, of course, for the food growth. If you're on the left hand side here, to make it easy, you can always just unlock 1 door. In the large storage, sometimes you find food in here, but you will always find at least an aluminium and an iridium. Aluminium is important for the food grower and the tier 2 solar panel, so make sure you do have a couple of them on you. In the small room, I've got some more food and some plants and some aluminium, and we've got 2 more plants. So all in all, there's a seed there and 2 plants. So all in all, we've now found 5 or 6 plants, depending on your luck and your RNG of the spawn. You can go down. There's only a small room on this side where you'll find a pulsar quartz, which is useless for you at this point. Unfortunately for the food grower, you can't do anything with these 2 or that veggie tube. Here you can just grab the box, and there's another lerma and 2 iridiums and 2 waters. Very useful. Very nice effigy, but just leave it for now. You don't have the space. As you continue on here, you'll get to this room here where you can just unlock the debris. If you are filling up on space, just go to a corner and drop the iron there. That's perfectly fine. If you get here, you just go past. This is the area that you would have come out straight. So if you went straight through, you would get to this area. In this room towards the right, let me show you what happens. So you're coming out here, and we turned left. If you go straight ahead, you will get through this door that's already open, and you can unlock this door. If you come in here, you've got a big storage. We'll find iridium and some aluminiums. You've got now 4 or 5 aluminiums. And you'll find some debris. Here is a fake wall. You can just deconstruct the wall. So you've got the circuits and stuff. Then there's a fake wall in a box. In the box you'll find a tree seed. This tree seed is useless to you at this point. It can only work in a tree spreader, so you can leave it there. We've got 2 seeds, we've got 2 foods. So that means you're set up for a little bit with the food at least. All in all, you will need about 10 food to survive if you follow the guide to get to a point where your food grower is unlocked and you've grown your first food. You need you can probably get away with 9 foods, because the food gives you 40 health points per space food bag. So if you do my focus and you get at least 8 food bags, then you will survive. When you get out of this room and you go directly below, you will find another box. I'm clearly lying to you. No, I'm not. There we go. Here's your box. In this box, you will find another plant and another space food. Not always a food, but sometimes a food, but you'll definitely find a plant in here. This is very important that you grab all the space foods that you can. Don't waste it, so only eat food when you are quite low, of course. Join me when we are towards the Zeolite cave. That's the cave close to where I built my base, because it's got enough flat space and resources in the area, basic resources. The Zeolite cave, just an FYI, there's a small cave there. It's a pulsar quartz cave. There's no food or plants in there that I have found throughout a couple of playthroughs. So you can ignore that unless you want pulsar quartz or adventuring. It's all up to you. But the Zeolite cave is if you go towards the left. Here's the Zeolite cave. As soon as you go in there, you will find a couple of resources. I will show that now. The place where I built my base is initially here. This has got a good access point towards that area where it's got a lot of resources. This area has got a lot of resources. The base down there and the iridium where all the meteorites fell basically, as well as quick access to the cave and just excellent general access with enough flat space to be able to build what you need to build. Now all in all, you don't need more than 3 rooms. Even 2 rooms can be good at the start. You don't need more than 3 rooms to get around. In the Zeolite cave you will find 3 boxes in total. The box to the left here is most of the time quite useless. Maybe you'll find a seed in there. Other than that, it'll just have a couple of resources. So your best bet is always to go towards the right. In the far right hand corner, you'll see it's still frozen. In this box, you will always find food. I have never not found at least 1 food in here. In this case, there's 2 foods. Don't worry about the microchips. Don't forget them rather. If you've got a spot, grab them, because they do sometimes unlock the agility boots, which means you can just move a little bit faster. But that also takes aluminium. So we've got 2 foods, not always a plant in there. Slightly more useful. As you can see, there's another box. The box is in the back of the Zeolite cave. Here you'll also find a couple of food packets. So all in all, we would have now found at least 10 food packets. So this is going to sustain you and a bunch of plants. We've now found a bunch of plants basically. Which means as soon as you get your plants, make sure that each and every one of them has a veggie tube. That means you will need power. As soon as you do get some stats and you've unlocked the tier 2 veggie tube, make sure that you have your better percentage plants and seeds in the veggie tubes. This tier 2 veggie tube is slightly more expensive to build. You need 2 eyes and more resources. So just make sure that you build your more percentage, so not your seed lermas. Don't put them in the boxes if you don't have to. Always put your 200 and 150s in there. That is the best. Now, speaking about power, right? The power requirement will always be lingering in your mind because this is hardcore, and the hardcore power requirement is a lot more. As I mentioned, it's 1.3 times the requirement. The thing is, you start off with a wind turbine, which generates 1.2 energy per second, and it only takes an iron. So as you are exploring this world, you need to sort of approach it like a speedrun. As you're exploring the world, you take an iron and you build a wind turbine. Done. That's it. So as you go along, you are on your way to your next looting location. You find random resources. That's fine. You continue on. Look, oh, there's another iron. You grab the iron, build the resource, and you continue on with life. Oh, look, another iron. You grab the iron, you take a drill, you put it down, you continue on with life. Every now and again, a drill needs some titanium. So, like I mentioned, don't focus on drills and heat, but you still need to do it. So as you continue on, grab a drill, place it down, continue on with life. And that's about it. As soon as you unlock the tier 1 solar panels, do make sure that you put them down as well, because the tier 1s generate a lot more power than the wind turbines. The wind turbines have a 1.2, the tier 1s have just over 6 power per second, and then when you get to the tier 2 solar panels, they generate about 19 power per second. And you will need power later in the early game because the food growers are quite hungry when it comes to power. So all you need to do is you don't really have to waste time with the power in the early game. As you're running, you see iron, you grab iron, put it down, and you continue on. In the Zeolite cave, you also found a bunch of aluminium. So for your aluminium requirements, you can also just ever come in here and grab aluminium, and that is then sorted out. So there's just 3 aluminium just on the start there. The next point we move on to is water. Now your water meter runs out. There's another aluminium and another one. So that's 5 aluminium just in the entrance. So your water requirements are quite high. Your water runs out a lot and quickly. As you've seen, there's a couple of waters around. You can just pick them up. The problem is water requires ice to build water, and also your veggie tube requires ice. So to be able to get your veggie tubes up and running and to have enough water in your storage to not die, you will need a lot of ice. The problem is ice is not that widespread. You've got a lot more other resources than ice. So if you get ice, they usually spawn 2 or 3 in the local area. Don't be afraid to have ice in your inventory and not convert it to water yet, because you can always convert an ice to a water or keep an ice for a veggie tube. Simple as that. So iron, power, move on with life. Nice and simple. So a scavenging tip I can give you is, because your oxygen drains so quickly, and oxygen gets built with 2 cobalt, and cobalt is not that widespread, except here on the floor, which makes it quite the hassle. What you can do is you can always have yourself 3 irons, 2 titaniums, and a silicon with you. That means that as soon as your oxygen gets low, you build a room, you build a door, you get inside, free oxygen. As soon as your oxygen has topped up, you deconstruct both and continue on with your scavenging. So what that means is, let's say you're at this base, you want to now scavenge, you build a room, you build a door, you top up your oxygen, you go down, you scavenge, you do what you need to do, you come back up, and you're alive. Nice and simple. Grab that. When you're moving along, unlock it, deconstruct it rather, and move towards your next position. Nice and simple. So, for a bonus tip, I'm going to show you where there's a golden seed. If the Pestera gives you 200 oxygen multiplier, a golden seed gives you 600% multiplier. So the golden seed I use as soon as I've got a small established base up there. I've got a couple of heaters, got a couple of pressure thingies, and a lot of oxygen generations, and my power is sorted out, at least for the meantime. Then you go into the Zeolite cave and you keep left. This takes you towards an exit, right? In this exit, there you can go either left or you can go straight. The golden seed is if you go straight, you keep to the upper side of the sandfalls, takes you to the sandfalls area, this exit here. Keep to the upper side, and you go to more or less the middle of the sandfalls. So if you look to your left and your right, you'll see you're sort of in the middle, and there's a small enclave to the left of the sandfalls. So you come out, you turn slightly right, and we are basically heading there. As you can see, there's a golden box. When you look to this side, you can see the sandfalls are there and the sandfalls are there. It's sort of in the middle. Here you've got a golden box. In the golden box, you've got a seed. You can ignore everything else and a golden seed. So eggplant seed, golden seed, and you're sorted. That, as I mentioned, gives you a 600% generation. An excellent place for loot is if you come out of the cave and you go towards the left. Instead of now we went slightly outside, right? You go towards the left. There's a blue box there. There's a blue box here. We will find the blue box. In the blue box, you will find another seed and a couple of iridiums. I have found a food pack here every now and again. This is also excellent. The one thing I can say about the golden seed is as soon as you get it, build a room. You've got your generator, put it down, put your golden seed in, deconstruct the door because you can use the resources, and you continue on. That worked. That is perfectly acceptable. So, when you come out of the cave, turn towards the left. After you find the box, head towards the end of this region. At the end of this region, it is basically a dead end. Here you will find a box. It has some resources in there, and you'll also find a sort of a shipwreck. Inside this shipwreck, you will find a couple of useful things. If you go up here, just make sure you don't run out of oxygen, right? If you go up here on the inside, you'll find a box. In this box, you'll find some resources. On the other side, if you drop down, here you'll find another couple of tier 2 solar panels, which means if you've got them unlocked, you can go and build them on the outside. And you've got another box. In the box, you'll find more food and more seeds. On the other side, there's nothing there. There's a tier 3 heater here, right? You can, if you've got it unlocked, you can build it. If not, you can deconstruct it to get some resources. There's nothing there. You can climb up, right? Just get through here. There we go. Don't get turned around, right? You can jump up. This is also your exit, and you can exit there again. Nice and simple. There's another section here at the top, which you can deconstruct. Inside the deconstruction, you will find another box, which a bunch of plants in there, and a bunch of food. Don't be fooled. You can deconstruct this wall. I've always found food and I've always found plants in here, and there's a chip if you want the chip. And again, there's a couple of satellites which you can't do anything with, and that's it. This is a good bonus tip. This section I usually do when I've got an established base on the other side and my generation is going up quickly. So make sure that you focus on power. Make sure you focus on oxygen. Oxygen first of all, power after that, and then a little bit of water focus, not to forget about it. Make sure that you've got enough drills, and then your food growers are unlocked. You're good to go. When you get to food growers being unlocked, right? When you've got your food growers unlocked, right? This is an established base that I've done previously. Got a couple of T2s, got a couple of random drills lying around there. When you've got your food growers unlocked, right? Make sure that you've got a couple slightly staggered. Like you can see, 83, 35, 35, 43, 43, 84, 33. So 5 will give you full health. And this, so I've got 7, right? I've got 7 growing here. 5 gives you full health, and the 2 that are staggered is there for emergency. You can pick one up and put it in your inventory and keep it there in case you just run out before you can make your way back to your base to get more food. If you've got 7 like this, make sure you've got enough power, then you won't have to run out of food, and you will be able to survive hardcore. When you get to this point, you've done the hard work. You've done it. You're sorted, you're settled. And that's it. Thanks for joining me. As you can see, the oxygen depletion is rapid, even though I've got a tier 3 there. But yeah, those are the tips for hardcore Planet Crafter. If you are able to, you don't need to do it perfectly. If you are able to get it right, get it sorted, focus on oxygen first. As you can see, my oxygen focus is quite focused. Bunch of oxygen in there. If you get your oxygen focused, you get your power sorted out, you have your little bit of water on you, and always an oxygen capsule just in case you don't want to die, then you will be able to do hardcore, and you will thrive and be excited. That is the location of the big base. Thank you for joining, everybody. It's been fun. I do hope I wish you luck in your future endeavors, in your hardcore journey. And if you got any questions, leave a comment down below. Also, like the video if you thought it was helpful. Also, subscribe if you feel so inclined. It always helps the channel. We are on our way to getting 1,000 subs. We are just more than halfway there. Thanks, everybody. And as the night comes to a close, so does the video. Have fun.